is going on, everyone? This is Zach from Clutch Crew Sports, back with another week of the lock board. I think we're on week 4 now. We're starting to get to that point. Yep, Connor's flashing the 4. But we're starting to get to that point now where it's like, been doing this a while. This is going to be our 4th one. So we're starting to get in the groove with this again. I think everybody's realizing how good 5-pointers are to get, because it's just so demoralizing when your opponent gets a 5-pointer, or so inflating when you get it.
Tell me about it.
The 2 points and the 3 points, they're nice. They add up nicely, but when you can hit a 5, that's game changing. It can make a bad week.
It can turn it, yeah, like you said, it can turn a bad week into a good week.
Yeah. So we'll go over the standings from this current week, and then the total standings, which a lot higher scoring overall compared to last week. Eric led the way with 9 points, the most all season by anybody in 1 week. So Eric got 9. I got 7, runner-up this week. And then Connor, once again, last place with 2, shaking his head. And that brings the total standings. I'm still actually in first place total standings, 15. Eric's got 13. Connor's got 5, 10 below the leader now. So
can I resign?
No, you signed a contract here. You got to keep picking every week until the current contract runs up. You're obligated to keep doing this. But who knows? You got the first pick again. So
well, it didn't really help much this week. But there's some extenuating circumstances that this 2 points that I got looks a lot worse than it actually is.
Yeah, so I'll go over what I got right and wrong last week. I was 2 for 4 with my picks. I got the Panthers over the Saints correct, and I got Kansas State over Oklahoma correct. That seems to happen all the time as a 5-point spread, and Kansas State, they always beat Oklahoma, it seems like, so I was fortunate to get that one again. And then I got Oregon State over USC. I got that one wrong. Close game. Oregon State blew it at the end of the 4th quarter. And Pats and Ravens was close for most of the game, but the Ravens pulled away at the end, so I got that one wrong. That was my 7 points. Connor, do you want to share your story before I tell the viewers about Eric's great week?
This was a pretty painful week for me in terms of not just because I got 3 things wrong, but just because I seem to be continuing my trend from last year of never getting close games to go my way. I was 3 points in an overtime, I guess technically 6 points, 2 3-point games and an overtime loss away from a perfect week. The first one I had was the Washington State Oregon one. That was probably the most painful one, just given the fact that Washington State was leading the entire game until a minute and a half left, and they were leading by a pretty substantial amount too. So definitely a major choke job by the Cougars there. Then the Wake Forest Clemson, that was my 5-pointer of the week. Wake Forest was at home, and they were actually leading for a good portion of the game too. But unfortunately, Clemson got a field goal near the end to send it to overtime, and Wake Forest threw an interception in overtime, which led to them losing. I did get one thing right. I did get the Broncos over the 49ers. Jimmy G with his running out of the back of the end zone and multiple interception night contributed to a very, very close, stressful win for the Broncos. And then my last one was a 3-point game again with the Bears and the Texans. The Texans had a chance to go down and get the game-winning field goal to win the game, but Davis Mills threw an interception in Houston territory, so that set up Chicago for an easy field goal. A very painful week for me. It's hard to believe that I could be, sitting somewhere atop the standings with y'all, but instead I'm still down here at 5. So, it can only get better, I hope, but you never know.
Yeah, not where you want to be after the first 3 weeks, but, still lots of season left to go. I'll go ahead and go over Eric's picks. He was close to getting all 4 of his right. The only one he got wrong, he picked the Lions over the Vikings, and they led the Lions led that game pretty much the entire game until the very end. Minnesota had the comeback
very
win.
Questionable 4th down calls by Dan Campbell going on in that game.
For sure. He got the Falcons over the Seahawks. That was a 2-pointer. He got that one right. Baylor over Iowa State, another 2-pointer he got right. So, he was good on his more conservative, safe picks, just 2-pointers there. But then Jags over Chargers was a 5-pointer. He picked it and he got it right. I give him credit for that. I wasn't gonna do it just because I figured Herbert would play, and I didn't know, Jags going on the road to face Herbert. Herbert clearly wasn't himself, but the Jaguars, that was not a stressful game for him to get those points.
Weird to say that a 5-pointer wasn't stressful, but
yeah, that was like his least stressful of all of them. Probably for everybody.
I will say I was very surprised when I made the spreads that Iowa State was favored over Baylor. I know Iowa State was at home, but that was probably the most surprising spread of the week. I was like, really? Like, okay, I didn't expect that, but all right.
Yeah, Iowa State, they seem to always get favored when they shouldn't be. I don't know why there's so much love for Iowa State, but there's not in the rankings typically, but for the betting wise they do. I don't know, maybe.
Well, hey, somehow the bettors actually, speaking of weird spreads, that week that Eric picked the Michigan State Washington game, I was surprised Washington was favored in that one, but like clearly they knew something because Washington won that game. So
yeah, I want to say somebody on TV said they would have normally picked Michigan State to win that, but since Washington was actually a favorite, they were like, well, there must be something going on here,
Yeah, it was Kirk. I remember it was Kirk Herbstreit. I remember watching that because I picked Washington to win that too, and I was like, I guess they know something because there's no way that normally the number 11 team in the country is not a favorite. So
yeah. But Connor, you've got the first pick here. We've got this week's spreads pulled up now. As if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. You've got the first pick in this, so I'm sure you know what you want to do. What will it be?
Yep, I do know where I'm going here. So I figure, you've been doing this recently and, whatnot. I need to get more aggressive with my picks. I know it's still early, but, I need to make up some points. So I'm going to go ahead and take a 5-pointer right off the bat. I'm going to go ahead. I know they didn't do it for me last week, but I'm going to go ahead and take Wake Forest over Florida State on the road. I just think Florida State's getting really overrated. They really haven't beaten that good of opponents, and yet they're somehow in the top 25. I know they haven't really lost yet, but I don't think they're deserving of it. So I feel pretty good about that one.
Yeah, that was one I was definitely considering pretty highly. It's actually, I've got the second pick here. I'm going to go the same group, a college 5-pointer. I'm going to take Purdue to beat Minnesota. Purdue, they're always this team that gets upset wins.
Yeah, I thought about that too, but I was like, I don't like, it's hard to predict with them. It'll come out of nowhere. So, because they're not really that good of a team, but you're right. Like it comes out of nowhere where they'll beat this ranked team. So,
and I want to say too, they've had some close losses. I don't think Minnesota is leaps and bounds better than them. So that's why I think that's a good solid choice. But Eric's not here with us in person, so just like in week 1, we're gonna do the fancy reveal here to see who he got, see if he was sniped with his first or second pick. So let's go ahead and do that real quick.
I'm guessing probably not, but we'll see.
Oregon State over Utah, 5-pointer was his choice. So I did also like that one.
Yeah.
That was one I liked, but interesting college 5-pointers for all of us in the first round. So Eric does not get sniped with his first round pick. Second round going to Connor here.
Well, it seems like the 5-pointers are let me make sure I get rid of this one. Seems like they're going pretty quickly. So I want to get the other one that I want before it goes off the board. And I'm probably taking a bit of a leap of faith with this one, but and maybe being hopeful, but I'm going to go ahead and take Arkansas over Alabama. Arkansas's at home. Alabama, they haven't looked the greatest this year. They've had easy wins against easy opponents, but their one, true game against Texas was a bit of a disaster for them. They did win, but they only barely pulled that out against a banged up Texas team. So I think Arkansas's got a chance. I hope they have a chance, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. That's one I wouldn't have been scared to pick either. I had that on my radar for a little bit. Normally, you would think picking against Alabama is a really bad decision, but I think that's actually a possibility, even though the spread was like 17 and a half or something like that. But so Connor, you're not going to be a fan of my next pick here.
Let me guess. You're taking the Jets over the Steelers.
I'm taking the Jets over the Steelers. Yeah, ding, ding, ding.
Well, I mean, this is kind of like what happened last week with you with the Texans and the Bears, right? It's like, you were happy that the Bears won not only because the Texans lost, but I got that wrong. So
Yeah.
I could be happy if the Steelers win, not only because they win, but because you would get that wrong. So
yeah, I think I definitely think it's going to be a close game. That's why the 3 points, I like that possibility. But I believe Zach Wilson will be back.
Yeah, he's going to play.
Yeah, so I think he's going to, he's going to do much better than Joe Flacco did. The offense, they've got playmakers. I think they just need that better quarterback. I'm not the biggest fan of him in general, and it's going to be a tough defense, obviously. But on the flip side, the Jets' defense has played okay, considering how bad their offense has been. And then obviously you've got Mitch Trubisky. That doesn't really cause fear.
No, our offense has been pretty anemic. I know.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of Steelers fans that have been calling for Pickett, but there's been an even louder group of Steelers fans that, it's not as much that we want Pickett. It's more so that everyone wants Matt Canada fired. Our offensive coordinator is pretty crappy. So I wouldn't be surprised, especially if it might happen anyway, but especially if we lose this and the offense looks bad again, I wouldn't be surprised if he's out of a job by the time I go up to Buffalo for week 5.
Well, you say that, but I've heard he's really good friends with Tomlin. He's Tomlin's guy or whatever.
Well, the reason why I say that though is I know he's good friends with Tomlin, but the problem is that not only are the fans saying they want him fired, but the players want him fired too. That's the other problem. Yeah. A lot of it, I know it's mostly the wide receivers like Pickens and Claypool. They've been coming out saying yeah, he needs to go. So if your players are saying it, then you gotta want to keep the locker room happy, I would think.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I know for the most part the players they like Trubisky, but they really don't like Canada. So
yeah, Eric, we'll see what his next pick will be. Let's see. Surely this has got to be gone, whatever it is. A&M over Mississippi State 3-pointer. Wow. So
Eric is not getting sniped so far. Yeah, that was another sort of surprising spread for me, but I know A&M struggled and Mississippi State's got a good quarterback, so
that's the thing. A&M, they're going to be on the road, and their offense just is not good. Their defense is really good, but their offense is not good. So I would have been scared to make that pick, but Connor, you've got it back at your selection in the 3rd round here.
Yeah, let's see here. Not really liking any of the 5-pointers left. So, maybe in previous years I would have been tempted to take Iowa to beat Michigan, but Iowa has the worst offense ever right now. So, I think I'm going to go ahead and move to the 3-point category, and I am going to take NC State to beat Clemson for a 3-pointer. This is, of course, the big game in the ACC Atlantic this year, the top 2 teams going at it. NC State beat Clemson last year in Raleigh. This is in Death Valley this time around, but I think Uiagalelei really, he looked decent against Wake Forest, but, I think the experience of this NC State team is going to get the win for them.
Yeah, that was one I kind of wanted to pick, but I also kind of wanted it to leave it for you because you got Clemson wrong last week picking against them. So it's I don't want to bet against Clemson. They seem to win all these games. They're on one of the longest win streaks. But
these are two teams that I have I've gotten wrong in back-to-back weeks. Like I said, Texas Tech would beat NC State, and then I said Wake Forest would beat Clemson. So, something's got to turn around here.
Yeah. Yeah. So I gotta consider my options now. I don't really want to do it, but I mean, as a fan, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take the Jags to beat Philly. I don't actually think that'll happen, but the Jags are playing really good. If they play like they did last week, the last 2 weeks, honestly, I think they can beat Philly. It's gonna be tough, but Doug Peterson obviously knows that team pretty well, so.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game. I mean, I know I didn't really think the Jags stood a chance against the Chargers last week, but I think this is just a whole different animal. Like the Eagles are playing I honestly think they probably played the best of anybody so far this year, so it's going to be tough going into the Link in that environment.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be hostile environment, but I also figure Eric's bound to have them as
I'm sure he has it on there somewhere. He's got points from the Jags for 2 weeks in a row now, so.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and see what Eric's next pick will be. Kentucky over Ole Miss 3-pointer.
Interesting. I was not considering that one.
I wasn't either. I was like, wait, is that a game? Because I guess I must have not even.
Well, it's one of the bigger matchups this week too, which is funny.
Yeah. Kentucky over Ole Miss 3-pointer. So Eric, you've got your first 3 priorities here. So no snipes have happened to Eric yet. That's kind of crazy.
He can't complain if he gets these wrong because he got what he wanted. So
yeah, unless he was like, oh, I figured you guys would do this, and then my later picks would be there. I don't know, but yeah, no excuses, Eric. Not that I'd expect you to give excuses, but fourth round here, final round. Connor, you've got the last pick. Where's it going to be here?
Yeah, so I've got 2 5-pointers and a 3-pointer. I guess I'll round it out with a 2-pointer here. Can't go. It still is early in the season, so I can't go aggressive. But I'll go ahead and take the Monday night game with the Rams over the 49ers. I just don't really like. I thought this offense would be better with Jimmy G. I don't know. Maybe it's just rust, but he looked god awful the other night against the Broncos. So. I know the Rams, they're starting to kind of figure things out. They got a good road win over Arizona last week. So on the road again, but I think the Rams are going to be able to win that one.
Yeah, I'm going to follow suit with that. I'm going to go 2-pointer in the NFL, but I'm going to take the Titans over the Colts. I think the Colts were pretty lucky to win that game. I know it's going to be in Indianapolis, but still – the Titans, I think they look better than the Colts did in that last week's performance. I just have more trust in them in that game to win. Not that I'm, rooting for either team, but
right. Somehow, they could both lose, that'd be great.
Yeah, yeah. It makes it a little better if the Titans beat the Colts, So
right. Yeah, I mean, I could see it happening. It's just I know. Some of the logic that people were using about that, how both of them won last week was the Colts, they managed to get a win over, the undefeated Chiefs, whereas the Titans struggled to beat the winless Raiders. So, it's definitely something I could still see happening, but I think the Colts are going to win that one, but who knows?
Yeah.
The NFL's been pretty wild this year, so,
Absolutely. So let's see if Eric goes 4 for 4 on what he wanted, or we might have to be here a while.
If this isn't the Jags, then
wow. Wake Forest over Florida State. That was long gone first pick.
Yeah, that was. I know. If I had, you probably would have taken that at least by the second round if I wasn't thinking it. So
for sure. All right, he's getting Houston over the Chargers 3-pointer is what he's getting.
I wonder, did he have the Jags on here anywhere?
Yeah, we can find out right now and see what his
Let's see here. He did have them on
Yep.
here, but towards the bottom.
Number 8. That was surprising because we all saw in the weekly picks that we do on our own. He had them outright beating Philly. So
right, yeah. I mean, well, it's funny because most of his picks didn't get taken though, because he just had he had the Rams over the Niners, so that would have been I took that one, but the only other one that got taken was that Bama Arkansas one, which he took it. He wanted to take it the other way with the 1-pointer. So
yeah, that's interesting.
I'm surprised that he would want to take Bama in a 1-pointer after what happened last time. I know it worked out, but it was close.
And Arkansas is going to be way tougher in theory than Texas was going to be. So yeah, that's interesting picks from Eric there, but he's probably feeling pretty happy that he got his first 3 choices. We'll go ahead and just recap what we have here so you guys can remember what happened. I've got Purdue over Minnesota in college. That's a 5-pointer. I've got the Jets over the Steelers as a 3-pointer. Jags over the Eagles as a 3-pointer. And Titans over Colts, 2-pointer. Connor, which ones did you get?
Yeah, so I've got Wake Forest over FS Useless in a 5-pointer. Got Arkansas over Alabama as a 5-pointer, so 2 college 5-pointers. Followed up by a college 3-pointer with NC State over Clemson, and then ending with an NFL 2-pointer with the Rams over the 49ers on Monday Night Football.
Yep, and then Eric, he's got 3 college games, 1 pro. He's got Oregon State beating Utah as a 5-pointer, Texas A&M over Mississippi State as a 3-pointer, Kentucky over Ole Miss as a 3-pointer. So 2 SEC games, and then Houston over the Chargers as a 3-pointer. So that's how this week's draft has gone. I'm hearing like a frog sound. I don't know what that was, but I don't know if you can hear that or not. But that's going to wrap this up, guys. Thanks for tuning in and listening, watching, and remember, as always, be clutch.
For Eric, peace.